Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Wednesday, September the 11th, and we have just received some CPI data, and the consumer price index did rise. It rose 0.3%, which was above the forecast, led by shelter costs. So the cost of mortgages, the cost of rent, the cost to live somewhere in the United States. And that has really reset expectations in the market around the size of the rate cut we're expecting the Fed to announce on September 18th. It's now pretty much around 95 to 100% likelihood that it will be a 0.25 or 0.25% cut or decrease, reduction in the rate. And I think that's a good thing because anytime the Fed moves too aggressively, it signals that there is trouble ahead. And although we can't really predict all the time if there's trouble ahead, the indicators in the data don't point to significant trouble in the immediate future. Now, that can change at any point with certain events that occur. But right now, if we continue on the trajectory we're on and using the data we have, it seems like quarter point reductions over, say, an annualized period will probably be the right direction for the Fed to move in to provide some certainty to the markets as well. So what's going on in the markets based on this announcement? If we take a look at the futures are, for the most part, even or in the red. I mean, the Dow Jones is definitely in the red, down almost half a point. The S&P down 0.2% or 12 points. And the NASDAQ is up 6 points, which is 0.03%. So it's pretty much flat. We don't have a lot of other information going on or being released today. So it's a bit of a quiet day. Obviously, it's the remembrance of September 11th, and there have been some ceremonies down at Ground Zero, 9/11, where 9/11 happened, one of the spots where 9/11 happened, tragically, years ago. And we saw last night the Trump-Harris debate, and it depends on the side that you're on and your perspective as to who won. Both candidates spoke well, and it was probably came out as expected in terms of what each of them said and shared. So the polls are stating, some of them, not all of them, but some polls are stating that Kamala Harris did seem to present herself well and was able to speak to Trump in a way that others have not been able to, and maybe not threw him off his game, but definitely was a good contender in the ring, if you will. Let's take a look at health and retail. Obviously, the political thing will play out as we head into the election in November. But what we're seeing on the screen is mostly red across the board in health and retail. This is a sector I wouldn't be spending a lot of time in right now. We're seeing a lot of movement, but it's pre-market in some of the healthcare like Humana. We've had some big moves in Humana in the last few days, and I'm not sure what's causing that per se, but I'm staying away from that sector, staying away from transport right now, although CNR is becoming more attractive as it drops down from the 160s into it's the high 150s. I am keeping an eye on that. I believe it will get down into the high 140s or low 150s, and I would pick up some CNR at that point. And one of the reasons that I would do that if it continues to drop is it does have a favorable dividend. I mean, it's 2.14%, so it's close to inflation. And then if you can get a capital gain and some capital appreciation on top of that over the period of time that you invest in that, you'll do pretty well. So I'm still staying out of it right now, but I'm waiting on that one. Crude oil is up significantly this morning. Now, crude oil has been almost like an anchor released from a cruise ship and sinking significantly and quickly over the last month or so. But it is making a positive move up today, and that should have a positive effect on the oil refining stocks. Now, the other factor around oil is we are seeing a category level storm, a hurricane, develop and come in through potentially Louisiana today. And that weather has shut down some oil drilling and rigs in that area. So that'll have a minor impact on, hopefully only a minor impact on drilling. And most of these companies aren't located in only one area, so they're geographically diversified. But I would expect an uptick in some of your oil stocks today. Getting down into tech, I've added a new symbol this week, and that's the NVDL at the top. And this is an interesting one. I'm going to do a separate video on this, but it's basically some hedged exposure to NVIDIA that allows for a 2x gain or 2x loss, so you have to be careful here, but a 2x gain when NVIDIA goes up. So every time NVIDIA as a stock goes up, NVDL will go up twice as much. So that's an interesting one to take a look at if you're bullish on NVIDIA, and NVIDIA's dropped to a level where I think it's hard not to be bullish on. The next stock that has earnings later this month, 14 days, so we're 2 weeks out from Micron Technology's earnings. I think this is the cheapest semiconductor stock on the market today, based on its, call it, 1 month price drop. If we look at where this was a month ago, or even look at 6, it was as high as 153. It's now down at pretty much half that price, maybe 60% round numbers, at 187. This is a stock that this is a company that produces memory and memory chips for all kinds of devices, from your laptop computers to your desktop computers to your servers to handhelds. They produce memory, and memory goes in everything. It goes in cars these days. It goes literally in almost every possible device out there that's electronic. And I think this is way oversold and has a lot of potential to do well, not just on the next earnings release in 2 weeks, but in the coming 1 or 2 years. From this price point, I think if we're revisiting this 2 years from today, this is going to be a $240 stock. So a lot of upside if you're looking for just a buy and hold in this very turbulent market that we're in right now. Palantir. So Palantir was announced that they're going to be part of the S&P 500. It started an upward trend earlier this week. If we look at the 5-day, you can see that on Monday it jumped significantly from $29.50 all the way up to, call it, 32. Now it's 34, almost $35. I said to sell this Wednesday. I think that was a good call. I think it's going to start to plateau at this point, and you may get another kick at that can if it drops down into the 31, 32 range, where I would pick it up again and ride that back up. Similar to what CrowdStrike did when they were announced to be going to be included in the S&P 500 earlier this year. As we scroll down further, I'm just a little reluctant around tech right now overall to make any significant purchases. I do own some tech and I'm maintaining those positions. Some of them are at a loss right now based on what's happened to tech over the last week or two. But where I am bullish is on stocks like Lam Research, which I do hold, and I am underwater on that currently. But I do feel that, like NVIDIA and Micron and TSM, that Lam Research is at this point at 731 or 732 is an extremely attractive purchase. If we look at the last month on this stock, you've seen it up as close as almost $900, and then down as low as 720. So lots of volatility. Looking at the 6 month, it was an north of an $1,100 stock, and over the 1 year, it has done very well. It has certainly corrected. There's no question about that. But this has lots of potential to continue to then take that hockey stick growth in the coming year. If we continue down, I would be staying away from Amazon right now. I love Amazon as a company, but I think that they're priced relatively well within the market itself. Oracle obviously had a great day yesterday. We called that earlier this week, saying that it would be a great buy, and hopefully you made some money on that. I really love Meta right now. Meta is going to release earnings in October. We're going to see those come out at the last month of October, 23rd to 28th. And I think Meta will be a $560 stock by the end of October. So you're 6 weeks out, call it, from this stock going up probably 10%, if not a little bit more than 10% on their earnings announcement. So I would be definitely acquiring some Meta if you had some dry powder and were looking to make an investment. Now, that said, Meta may come down below 500. So if you want to wait for it and time it a bit, I'd put in a buy order at 494, 492, somewhere in that range, and just see if that triggers over the course of the next couple of weeks. I'm also a huge believer in NVIDIA. I mean, despite the sell-off, NVIDIA came out with some incredible earnings. They weren't the kind of growth that we've seen in past quarters, but that's hard to sustain on an ongoing basis. They still beat across the board. And I think NVIDIA is going to come back and be a $140 stock by the end of October. Google at $150 is another absolute steal. I think this is an extremely solid company to be invested in. And then results later today, I think if you want a one-day win, I think Adobe or a call option on Adobe for, let's call it not tomorrow, but next Friday, at 574. So buy something at 574, 575 in the money today. I think that would be a very good investment because I think it'll provide a significant return when they announce their results today. Oracle had good results. Palantir had good results. Many other software companies had positive results. I do think Adobe is going to come out with some very, very strong results today. And then the banking sector. This one took me by surprise yesterday. There's no question. I only saw this going up and down, but mostly up towards earnings coming in October. And some of the big names here just got hammered yesterday, which makes it a great buying opportunity if you have some dry powder or if you don't already own it. But Goldman going down 21, almost $22 yesterday was absolutely insane. I know that there were some changes announced yesterday, but the changes for the most part were positive to the banks, and yet they just got hammered. So if I were to be investing in any sector right now, I would be picking up the likes of finance in Goldman, Morgan, and I would be adding my favorite SoFi if it drops at 705, but if it drops into the $6 range, which it has recently, is an absolute steal going forward as buy and hold type positions. So that's where we are today. Let's see what Adobe comes out with at the end of the day after market hours. And good luck in your trades. If you're liking these videos, please subscribe to the channel.